We arrive in Grand Teton National Park after leaving Yellowstone an hour and a half before. The first sights we see are the overlook of Jackson Lake. During 2021, there is a drought and Jackson Lake is at a historic low, which you can see the dry edges and lack of water. We stop and explore this area around Leaks Marina and Boat Launch, mainly because we're fascinated by the lack of water. It's creepy. We decide to have lunch in the parking lot, although there was a pizzeria we could have had lunch at there. After arriving at the Coulter Bay area, we take a hike that takes us through the woods and then again along the banks of Jackson Lake, which, as you can see, the rocks are huge because technically they should be underwater and we should be over our heads in water in some of the areas we're walking. Somewhere not far from Coulter Bay Village, we see our first two moose, which is exciting because I've been waiting to see moose. We continue on to Oxbow Bend and continue on the scenic drive to see most of the pull-offs that we can fit in today. This is the overlook of the Snake River where Ansel Adams took photos. Our first glimpse of the iconic Teton mountain range. You'll notice it looks hazy in the pictures, and that's because at this time there were fires out west. We drive the entire length of the park, stopping at each observation point, and then at the southern point have to turn around and enter the park through the actual gate to go back north to where our campground is at Coulter Bay. Teton Glacier is the snowy patch between Grand Teton and Mount Owen. And it's right there, that snowy patch you're seeing now. Day 2 begins at Oxbow Bend. Most people are here to photograph the reflection of the mountains. I was here to look for the animals. This is a good place to see animals. And although I was hoping for moose, we did see elk. After we've seen enough animals, mainly elk, we then take off towards Jenny Lake, where we will take a boat trip across for a hike to Inspiration Point. And this is Jenny Lake. And these are the pictures of the mountains behind us when we're standing at Inspiration Point. This is taken at the overlook at Inspiration Point at 7,200 feet. Jenny Lake is the most popular destination in the park. The view across the lake, from this angle you can't really see it, but it shows you Cascade Canyon, which is at the base of the hike that we took. The Mormon settlement was originally called Grovant and was settled in the 1890s, but by the mid-1900s had been abandoned. The leaves here are changing in early September already. We begin our hike to Taggart Lake. Chose the hike to Taggart Lake because they said the views would be amazing of the mountains, and we weren't disappointed. During this evening, we're spending the night camping at the Grovant campground, which is back near Mormon Row. So that's why you're seeing the pictures again of Mormon Row, because it seems so spectacular every time driving through there with those tiny buildings and the giant mountains. And this is our campsite for the night. From here, we head south into Jackson to explore and have dinner eventually. We end up going into the Cowboy Bar to experience it and have a beer. They have some very interesting interior decor, saddle seating, and everything cowboy in the decorations, which eventually you'll see. We make sure to get our picture taken in the antler arch. Yes, these are all antlers. We sample Roadhouse Brewing before we go to get food at the Thai restaurant. We head back in the park and work on taking selfies with the sign. At this point, there is an elk refuge nearby, so we try and find elk, but we eventually in our drive find moose. The area to the south is known for having a lot of moose traffic, and so between here and our campground, we see a majority of the moose that we'll see in our journey. Not sure if you can tell from the picture, but this is a baby moose, not a full-grown moose. The mother is playing in the shadows. Now for a peaceful evening at the campground. In the morning, I get up, and having heard there would be moose here, I get up and walk towards the bathrooms, where I find the mother and her baby. So as we're trying to decide at the campground where to go to see moose, this happens. Hang in for the exciting part. God, I'm gonna be so pissed if he doesn't walk around. So I stayed in the RV for this part, so we're just filming this through the front windshield, which has water on it because it gets fogged up overnight. Once antlers reach their final size, the velvet exterior dries and becomes itchy. So you'll see deer, elk, and moose rubbing their antlers on trees and other vegetation to remove the velvet. They also lose their antlers in late December. So the antlers right now are probably the largest they will be, and they need to get that exterior off. At this point, we change our position in the campground to try and see more moose. So I can't tell you whether this is the same mother and child, but I suspect it's different because the campers that were surrounding the other one are not here. And we also are going to take off to yet another location in a minute and see another moose. This guy, I don't know if you could see it, has like a bunch of twigs or something in his antlers, so he's clearly been already rubbing his antlers somewhere. After we watch the moose, we head out of town and pass by Jackson again, and we also pass by the elk reserve that is on the side of Gros Ventre. So in Gros Ventre, we had the opportunity to see moose, but you can also see a lot of elk there, which we did not, but could happen. We passed by Montpelier, Idaho on our way to Utah.